On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, use your tax refund to file bankruptcy. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome back your financial coach, George Carvello. How you doing, George?
Shawn, how are you? Doing well. Here this time of year, it's a little, time of the recording. It seems cold, a little chilly here in Florida. And again, I'll put that in air quotes because it is funny. But I guess now I'm officially a Floridian, where it's 50 and we're cold, and I'm freezing my butt off and things like that. So I guess I'm official now.
So I get to, as soon as you and I are done recording, I become a pirate. Arr! So for those who don't know, every year in Tampa we have the Gasparilla Parade, the Gasparilla Festival, the Gasparilla Pirate Invasion. I want to say it starts off Mardi Gras and all that kind of stuff. I think it like starts here
Same
and the
time of year, yeah.
parades slowly work their way north until they get to Louisiana. But I am in a Gasparilla crew. And so as soon as we're done recording, I got to put on my pirate costume, and me and my son are going to go out to the kids' Gasparilla parade. And
Nice.
then next week, I'm excited. So when this episode comes out, I'll be a day away, 2 days away from my first Gasparilla parade in like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every year I went to Gasparilla in 2020, right before COVID hit, was my first and last at that time Gasparilla. Every year since, I've had a soccer game or a Cub Scout camp out or a something where I couldn't, I'm still in the crew. I just couldn't participate in the Gasparilla parade. So I'm excited. This year will be my first Gasparilla parade since 2024. I've been to the kids parade like I'm going
Sure.
today. I've been to the St. Patty's parade. I've been to the night parade. Um, yeah, I'm really excited. I did do a little bit of internet sleuthing.
Uh-oh.
You want to know a little bit about Gasparilla?
I would like it, please.
So according to the interwebs, uh, the Gasparilla Festival began in 1904 when a columnist with the Tampa Tribune, Miss Louise Frances Dodge, teamed up with a Tampa government employee named George Hardy. The two wanted to promote the city, so they created a May Day celebration by borrowing elements of New Orleans Mardi Gras and fusing it with a nautical pirate theme. This led to the emergence of the first Ye Mystic crew of Gasparilla, whose original 40 members kicked off the festivities by staging a mock invasion and storming the city of Tampa on horseback. Ye Mystic crew of Gasparilla embodied the nautical theme by adopting the legendary pirate Jose Gaspar as the mascot of the citywide celebration, and he's remained a patron of the event ever since. Gaspar was renowned for terrorizing the waters of coastal West Florida in the late 18th century before dying and leaving his fortune in buried treasure somewhere along the Florida coast. His memory is revived every year during Gasparilla. Today, the crew uses a fully rigged steel ship to capture the city of Tampa, which is kept dock at the Tarpon Way Station on Bayshore Boulevard for public viewing. And so that's the official internet article. Now, on top of that, all the other crews have sprung up, including my crew, which is the West Chase crew of freebooters. We all have our big floats. They're towed by the big tow trucks, and we go out to Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, and we have fun and we throw beads and we do all that. The other interesting thing about the cruise, they're not just about Gasparilla and pirate invasions and all that stuff. We also do a lot of good for the community. So I know our cruise adopted Operation Helping Hands, which
Right.
supports veterans who were injured, and we've done Freebooter Fridays where we've supported our first responders by bringing them food and doing all that kind of stuff. So in addition to having fun and drinking and throwing
Right.
beads, we also do some good for the community as well.
That's great. And obviously, if you're in the Tampa area, correct? So if you're in the Tampa area, there's a great opportunity over again, the time of the recording, to be able to look out on. I know that you guys have stuff. There's stuff on Facebook. There's stuff on the internet.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff in the news about all the upcoming events as well. If you're in the area, take some time to go and check it out. You'll be pleasantly surprised
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how much fun you actually have
It is
meeting a lot of new people. That's for sure.
some new and some interesting people, and I will say I've been to Gasparilla, both the Kids Parade and Gasparilla, without being a member of a crew, but I don't think I'd ever do it again unless I'm a member of a crew.
Cool,
It's so
gotcha.
much fun to be on the floats and all that. And like I said, our crew does a really good job. We meet somewhere local here in West Chase and we pre-party a little bit. We have a charter bus that picks us up, drives us out there, picks us up at the end of the parade route, drives us back to West Chase. So you're not really having to drink and drive. And actually, there's no alcohol allowed at the kids parade for kind of obvious reasons
Yeah, a
anyway.
little on the
But
nose there.
but yeah, so it's pretty fun. But you know what else I did today
Oh,
to get
tell me.
ready for Gasparilla?
Let's go.
I took my Magic Mind shot this morning. So
Ah,
I am focused and I am ready to go. Now, did you know that Magic Mind has a theme for January of building your mental wealth in 2025? And so
no way.
that's what Magic Mind
I
is
mean, I
promoting.
did hear it before we started recording, but yes, no way. Tell me more, brother. I'm excited.
So here's the thing: Magic Mind is focused on five pillars. They want to talk about the five pillars of
Sure.
mental wealth in 2025: your sleep, your diet, your exercise, your stress management, and using natural formulas in order to promote your mental wealth in 2025. And
Totally
so we've
makes
got
sense
the
to me.
Magic Mind shot that
Yeah.
focused that for focus. Magic Mind just came out with a new formula called Magic Mind Sleep,
Oh, nice.
and they were able to send us a sample. I've been using my sample. I'll get you your samples the next time we meet up in person. But basically, the two of the five pillars, one being focus, the other being sleep. And so, Magic Mind now has a formula that they've prepared that helps me to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So,
Natural ingredients, obviously. Is still a shot as well.
still a shot. It's the same
Okay.
size as the Focus shot. It's a slightly different flavor, a good flavor. It's
Yeah.
good. I like the flavor. I like the flavor of the shot, and I like the flavor of the Focus drink, the sleep drink, and the Focus drink. But yeah, they want to help people really get into their mental wealth in 2025, and so they're doing that through the Focus shot, and they're doing that through the sleep shot. And they
Totally
actually
makes
have a
sense.
promotion going on right now, CDJAN, so Crushing Debt January, CDJAN. Get this, remember our old code was 20% off.
Yes.
This new code is 45% off in order of focus and sleep.
Nice. So
So
get started. They're giving you a good discount on both to get things
exactly.
going. That's great.
Instead of just getting 20% off the focus, or even 20% off the focus and 20% off the sleep, which is
Right. It's
40% off,
total on the order.
they're
Wow.
giving 40% off the entire order. So,
I mean, think about the importance of sleep. I mean, we already been talking about how important it is to be focused throughout the day. But part of that is getting a good night's sleep. And I know there's a lot of people out there when it comes to stress. There's a lot of people when it comes to how to fall asleep or staying asleep. So I think that's definitely something to consider. Being able to stay focused during the day is one thing, but getting a good night's sleep prepares you really to tackle each day. So totally important. I could see why this is one of the five pillars.
yeah. So, I
Awesome deal,
did
man.
my I did my sleep shot last night, got a good night's rest, woke up this morning, had breakfast, took my focus shot, and now I am ready to invade the city of Tampa with my fellow
Nice.
pirates.
Let's go. Keep
So,
focused and stay close to the kids too. Making sure that the kids don't go into get in any
yeah.
trouble.
I like going on. My younger son really loves being on the float, so he's going with me. He's
Awesome.
actually got a friend of his. So there was a family here in West Chase that won a raffle where the crew gave out a free pass to be on our float, and so one of Jacob's friends actually won that free pass. So he'll be on the float with us. So he'll have fun. He'll have a friend on the
Nice.
float. So we're gonna have a good time. So
Awesome deal, man.
should we talk about crushing debt?
I would think that would be an excellent segue into how we crush debt. We
I'm a
crush the
master
day
of
and
the
the morning
segue.
and the sleep, but now we got to crush the debt.
I am a master of the segues. So we're towards the end of January right now.
Yep.
Um, so any business that has paid an independent contractor or has paid somebody that would get a 1099, those are all due by January
Indeed.
31. So
Yep.
if you're a business owner, you got to get your 1099s out by January 31. Then the next big deadline, corporate returns, LLC and corporation returns are due March 15th. And then our returns are due April 15th. And
Yep.
so we're now in that season where tax returns are being filed and tax refunds hopefully are being sent out by the IRS.
Yes.
And so I know you had sent me a TikTok, and I don't know. I guess we'll
Uh,
see how much longer
I
TikTok's
don't know if
around.
it's available at this time, of after the recording or when it's been posted. So that'll be, but it was a good run while it lasted, TikTok. Thank you. And hopefully, our president elect saves us somehow in
we'll,
keeping TikTok around.
we'll see. But the title of the TikTok was "Use Your Tax Refund to File Bankruptcy." Now
Right.
you watched the TikTok, so what was going on in the video?
So a lot of it was really, when we talk about how the I guess how the taxes were used, and again, it's just this misconception. I think someone who had gone through bankruptcy, it was going through the proceedings, how a lot of that is used. And it was just a lot of unknown to the individual. Like, oh wow, like I was able to change the way I use my taxes or the way. So I think a lot of that really opened my eyes on how when we go through bankruptcy, what does it mean when it comes to tax returns? What does it mean when it comes to paying off certain things? I think we've touched upon the topic in the past. But it just seemed like a new segue when it came to, taxes and things like that as related to the payment. So I think that's
Yeah,
where, and again, of course, the individual on they're not an expert. It's just more of what their experience was
right.
related to the topic. That's all it was.
Well, and so I can tell you from my perspective as an attorney that helps people file bankruptcies, and tax refunds come up all the time.
Yep.
And so a couple of different things we have to factor in here. So first, I've had clients that have gotten their refund and then used their refund to pay me the attorney's fees that
Right.
I need to file the bankruptcy.
Sure.
That's totally okay.
That makes sense. Yep.
So that's one use of the tax refund. I would be hesitant to say use your tax refund to pay off debt and then make a decision to file bankruptcy shortly, a week, a month after that, because there is something called a preferential payment. And so the trustee could say, well, why did you use your tax refund to pay off Visa and you bankrupted MasterCard?
Oh, I see.
And so in a situation like that, that might cause some what's the word, agita, some issues in the bankruptcy case. So you want to try to avoid that, or if you need to do it, definitely consult with a local attorney, local
The
bankruptcy
lawyer. Right.
attorney
Right.
to
Gotcha.
figure that part out.
Yep. Yep.
um, then there's the flip side of that coin, which is we filed the case and maybe the borrower or the debtor has filed their tax refund, or maybe they haven't yet filed their tax refund, a tax return, but they're going to be due a refund. And I think so. I'm going to take a step back here. We got to be careful about return and refund. I have a CPA friend of mine who always likes
Ah,
to joke, everybody's going to get a return this year. Not everybody's
not
going to get
everybody's
a
gonna get a
refund.
refund. Yeah. Fair enough.
So you can't use them interchangeably, which
Gotcha.
I'm
Good to
guilty of
know.
doing.
Good to know because everybody seems to be very easily using them interchangeably. So thank you. We learned
Right.
something. We learned something today. Thank you.
You learn something every day. So the issue is if you filed your return and you filed your bankruptcy,
Right.
or even if you haven't filed your return, but you file your bankruptcy, you're going to file your return. Remember what a refund is an overpayment of wages to the IRS.
Right.
And so one thing that I've always advocated is we shouldn't be getting huge refunds. If we're getting huge refunds, why not drop the refund a little bit so we get more in our take home pay that we can use on a month to month basis, more cash flow that we can use on a month to month basis. So, what happens is if somebody files their bankruptcy and they're due a refund, that refund is actually property of the bankruptcy estate.
Ah.
In other words, the trustee has rights to get that refund and pay it to your creditors. Now, there's issues if you owe taxes, the IRS can intercept the refund and use it to pay the taxes. But outside of that, if I filed a bankruptcy in January and the client said, "Well, I'm supposed to get a $4,000 refund in April when I file my tax returns," there's a chance that that refund could be taken by the bankruptcy trustee to pay your creditors.
Makes
So
sense.
there's some timing there that we gotta work out. You know, sometimes that refund could be exempt based on the exemptions that your state has. So depending on where you file, some of that return or hopefully all of that return could be exempt based on the laws in your state. There's also the earned income credit portion of your refund is exempt under Florida law, I think under federal law. So there are some portions of the refund that could be exempt. But if you're filing in that January to April timeframe, and even sometimes a little bit beyond that, you've got to be careful about how much of my refund is coming back. Am I getting a
Right.
refund? How much of my refund can I protect? All that other stuff. Um, then the other issue with a refund that we bump into a lot is what chapter of bankruptcy are we in?
Ah,
So, in a Chapter 13 case, we have to file our tax returns every year and we have to submit those tax returns to the bankruptcy trustee. And at least here in Tampa, the bankruptcy trustee has said those refunds belong to the bankruptcy estate as extra money. So, if I do a Chapter 13 plan and I say, my Chapter 13 plan is going to pay $20,000 back to unsecured creditors over time,
right.
and I get a $4,000 refund. I can't say, well, now I only owe 16,000 to my unsecured creditors. I got a $4,000 refund. Now I owe $24,000 to my unsecured creditors. The 20,000 that I was originally going to pay and the $4,000 refund. Now, our trustees here in Tampa have put a process in place where if I need something, because we know life happens, my air conditioner breaks and I need to get
Yeah.
the air conditioner repaired. You know, I need to patch something on the roof. I had a medical issue. I had this, I had that. Before the refund is spent, I can send a request over to the trustee's office and say, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Trustee, the borrower had this or that unexpected expense come up and we need the refund to pay it. Is that cool?" And if we do it in advance, more often than not, the trustee's going to say yes. And so then we can use the refund for what we need instead of sending the refund to the trustee. But if this is a normal scenario where you're in a Chapter 13 payment plan bankruptcy and you're expecting that refund to, take a vacation with, it may not happen. You may have to pay it to the bankruptcy estate. A Chapter 7 is more a
Wow.
snapshot in time. So once the Chapter 7, the liquidation is over, if I file my Chapter 7 in, let's say, October, and I get my discharge in January, and I get my refund in March or April or May, that's my refund to keep and do with what I want. So it all depends on what chapter you file, what trustee you file, whether you have assets, all that kind of stuff. So I think the bottom line for me is if you're looking at bankruptcy as a potential option, as a potential solution, just double check, what time of year are we? Is
Yeah.
the tax refund due? Is the tax return due? How much am I getting back? Why am I getting back what I'm getting back? Can I adjust my budget so maybe I get less of a refund, but I get more in my pay? Because remember, bankruptcy is based on gross income. So getting more take home pay may not necessarily impact your bankruptcy budget because
Interesting.
bankruptcy, at
Right.
least at the initial level, is based on gross income.
So,
So
yeah, so not taking that job or getting that pay increase may be something you need to talk with your lawyer to make sure, like, hey, is this going to impact the proceedings or the
yeah,
outcome or the impact itself overall? That's a good
and
conversation. Yeah.
I've told this story a lot. I think I've told it maybe even a few times on the podcast. Especially as a bankruptcy attorney, my advice is to make as much money as you can. Let me worry about what the numbers are going to show. And I've told this story before. I said to my dad, the law firm was really young, and I had my really good, like a 5-figure month that just blew me away. And I said to my dad, this is awesome. I made all this money. I could put some money in savings. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. but I'm worried. My dad said, "Well, why are you worried?" And I
Right.
said, "Well, I'm gonna have to pay tax on all this money." George, I could literally feel my hand come through the phone and grab me and choke me. And his comment was, "Dude, make as much money as you can. Don't let me worry about the taxes. You just worry about
Right.
making
That's
money."
what the CPA, right? That's what their job. They're supposed
Right.
to worry about those kind of things and how to make sure you keep as much of it as possible. But it's funny how a lot of people have that mentality when it comes to they're thinking like, oh, if I make more money, I'm going to be taxed at a higher bracket and this and this and I'm like, I get that, but you're gonna make more money. You're
You're gonna
gonna
make more money.
you're gonna
Yeah.
make more money. So don't worry about like for me, I think people their focus sometimes is a little bit skewed when it comes to these things, but I agree. I think, millionaires and billionaires are not gonna stop making money because of the tax burden. They're just
No.
gonna find other ways to try to keep as much money as it becomes a game in that sense. Why don't we play the same game? I just don't understand that. I really don't.
Well, and I think what people don't realize is that the tax brackets are incremental. In other words,
Yeah.
and I don't remember what the tax brackets are, so don't quote me on any of
Yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly. It's a
But
lot when you make a lot of money.
right,
It's
but
higher than it is. I get it.
let's say your tax bracket from, and to make it easy, let's say your tax bracket from 0 to 10,000 is 5%.
Right.
And then your tax bracket from 10,000 to 20,000 is 6%.
Yeah.
So what that means is you're taxed 5% on the first 10,000, 0 to 10,000. But then from 10,000 to 20,000, you're only paying an extra 1%.
1%. Yep.
You're not paying 6% on 0 to 20. You're paying 10% on 0 to 10. You're paying 6% on 10 to 20. So you're only paying an extra
Uh,
1% from 10 to 20.
Shawn, that's logic. You need to stop with this sensible talk. What is wrong with you? That
I
makes
know,
sense though.
sorry.
And people don't see again, that's another thing where we don't see it. We're thinking like, no, 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 it's the entire amount. You're getting it's absolutely not in that case. So a good point. Good call
Yeah.
out, man.
And again, those aren't, don't quote me on
Yeah,
those
no,
figures.
again, don't yeah.
I'm
But
I'm
again,
making the
that's
example to make it easy.
just to make it easy, correct. But I mean, you're still looking at if you're doing 24% or 28%, that's where you're saying the difference is. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
you
not
need to
24 to 28% on 0 to whatever your
right.
salary is. It's
I don't
24% on the incremental increase.
I don't think people realize that, and I think you're it's a good call out, good point. I think we need another CPA to help us with that one. That seems like a future episode to break it down for us.
I
But
think,
no, that's amazing. That's
yeah,
I totally get it. Well, let me same topic, right? So I'm in the same kind of family. I've had some conversations recently in regards to like child support, alimony. What are those impacts when it comes to bankruptcy? Are there any impacts when we talk about child support or alimony when it comes to bankruptcies?
yeah. So both sides of the coin. So as the one who would have to pay child
Right.
support or alimony, those are not dischargeable. So you can't get out of child support or alimony. You can't get out of back child support or alimony if you file bankruptcy. You still
Right.
have to pay child support and alimony.
Okay.
On the other side of the coin, child support and alimony are exempt. So when we look at what is your income level for purposes of whether you qualify for bankruptcy or not, child support and alimony are not taken into account.
Got it.
So those aren't necessarily factors as to should I file a Chapter 7 or 13. On the debtor side and on the creditor side, they're not dischargeable.
Interesting. Okay. Because a lot of times, so again, it depends. If you're on the one who's receiving it, you're like, oh my goodness, is this going to have an impact on what we're doing? The answer is no, in either side. And of course, if you're trying to get away with not having to pay, again, sadly, sorry, you still have to, have your obligations and move forward with
Yeah.
those as well.
Well, even in like a Chapter 13, I think payment plan bankruptcy case, you
Right.
may not be able to complete your bankruptcy if you're behind on child support or alimony. I know that all of
Oh,
my
okay.
Chapter 13 clients have to send in a notice that I help them prepare, but they send in a notice to the bankruptcy trustee that says, yes, I owe child support and alimony, and yes, I'm current on my payments. And we have to do that in every payment plan Chapter 13 bankruptcy case. So So no, you're not going to get out of paying child support or alimony by filing bankruptcy. Now, one issue for the creditor that for the person that files bankruptcy that says this child support and alimony are crushing me. So what benefit would a bankruptcy be? One possible benefit of a bankruptcy would be that you eliminate everything else. So you don't eliminate child support and alimony, but you eliminate all the minimum payments to
The
Visa
other,
and American
right.
Express and Discover. You
Should
eliminate all
free
the
up.
right. You free up disposable income to then pay the child support and alimony.
Okay. Man, okay, so again, I'm learning, but now my brain is, even it's early in the morning, but my brain is running here, and I'm like, wait, what about this? What about this? So I'm gonna rapid fire at least two more and see. Again, you're amazing anyway, so this is awesome from
I've
that
taken my
standpoint.
magic mind. I'm good.
I'm telling you, the guy's on point right now. He's on point. But let me ask this, because it just paid my HOE fees.
Right.
Can I get those discharged? So how does HOA dues, for instance, play when it comes to bankruptcy itself? What are the impacts there?
HOA dues are secured by the house. So those have to be paid. Now, what happens in a bankruptcy is, and it's kind of technical, but what
Yep.
happens in a bankruptcy is your obligation to pay is eliminated, but the security against the house remains. So if you file bankruptcy and you don't want to pay your HOA dues, you don't have to,
Right.
but the HOA can still foreclose and take the house away
Mm.
for not paying the dues.
Yeah.
Now
They
there are
could.
some other issues in HOAs in terms of, like I said, a chapter 7's a snapshot in time. And so if I file now, then the January dues that I owe are gone. But the February, March, April, May, all those
The
are
future.
owed because
Yeah.
those are after the filing date.
Gotcha.
But as a general proposition, if you want to keep the house, you got to make all the payments that are tied to the house, the mortgages, the HOA or condo dues, the property taxes. Those things have to be paid if you want to keep the house.
Nice. Okay. And that's funny. I didn't think of. I went straight to the HOA dues and not realize like, yeah, the mortgage. But I think we've had conversations in the past. But I wanted to kind of focus in on the HOA dues. All right. So how about from a bankruptcy impact standpoint? How about co-signers? So they're co-signed loans that are in they're part of the impact itself. Obviously, I feel like there's two sides, right? The person who's filing is one, but what about the person who's co-signed who's not filing? What are the impacts to two sides of that coin?
Yeah. So the person who owes the debt, or I'm sorry, the primary borrower,
Right, right,
their obligation to repay that debt will be eliminated. But the only person that is impacted, or the only person that would be discharged, the only person that would not have to pay back the debt is the person that filed the bankruptcy case.
right.
So so you help your daughter buy a car, you co-sign for your daughter. Your daughter then gets into some, she gets above her
Financial,
head,
yeah,
which I know your daughter would never do because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
her
I
dad.
would have to file another claim of
Who
killing. Killing my kids. Again, not killing my kids, but you know what I mean.
I
Yeah.
was going to say who better to teach their kids fiscal responsibility, but we'll go with yours. Uh,
I doubt that would be the case, but yes, you're stranger things have happened. I agree with you there,
so
brother.
So let's assume in this fantasy world, in this
Right.
bizarro world, that you co-sign a loan for your daughter to buy a car. Your daughter
Yep.
has to something happens, she has to file bankruptcy.
Yep.
Her responsibility to pay back the car or the student loan or whatever
Right. Yep.
is eliminated. Your obligation to pay remains. So
But how
you
is that calculated? Would that be half and half? Would it be like it, or is it just more of like, depending on what it might be? It
it's
doesn't.
joint and several liability. So you both owe the whole. Now the bank's not going to get double collection. So if the
Oh
bank
my.
can't get it from her, they're going after
They
you.
gotta. Wow. So there's another reason why you don't co-sign on the
Right.
on the loans itself. So you just made it doubly worse for
Well,
me. And right. So that makes sense. Okay.
and I'll
Okay.
throw this in as well. Speaking about cars, our friend Rich Fika, who's been on the show a couple times,
Absolutely.
does risk management, insurance, property and casualty insurance, car insurance, homeowners
Yep.
insurance. One of the things that he says all the time is you do not escape liability by getting your kids their own policy. So if you say, my daughter's driving, and so I'm going to get my daughter her own insurance policy,
Sure.
they can still come after you. Your daughter's in a car accident, you're still on the hook for your child.
How is that? Did he explain that
So
before?
as Rich will say, maybe we have Rich on to
We
explain
got to
this
have
even
that because
better.
that one I
But
was just because I was already thinking that too. I was already my daughter, my oldest has the car, and of course I heard on TikTok again everything. Thank you TikTok for all the things that you've misguided me. But they had mentioned like ownership of the vehicle needs to be in the child's name, which should eliminate not the not the accountability or anything like that, but it's more of like if they sue my daughter again, someone sues my daughter, right, for that from an ownership, they can't come to and get my assets. But again, again, keep me honest. Is
well,
TikTok
so here's what Rich says. You gave birth to the child, you're responsible for the child.
got it?
Now, I would think at some point, your daughter gets to a certain age, the car
Yeah,
is in her name.
yeah,
She's not living at your house.
yeah.
She has her own insurance policy. Yeah, I mean, if I got into a car accident right now, my mom would not be responsible.
I was about to say she's responsible for you.
Right.
Mhm.
But I think if you're on title to the car, you're responsible for the car. If
That makes
if you
sense.
if your daughter lives with you, that may still make you liable
All
for
right,
the
so kick
car.
him out at 21. Got it.
Right.
Continue.
Kick him out at like 16,
Sorry,
17.
babe. Sorry, the
Kick him out.
insurance and the liability. I can't afford you.
But yeah, the general premise is they're your child, you're responsible for the car.
Makes
Now I
sense.
guess we can, and maybe we'll have Rich on at some point to
Yeah, there's got to
clarify.
be a point where it's like
There's
that.
got to be a line there.
Yeah,
But I think what a lot of people do is they say, well, my daughter, because I know you have one that still lives with you,
yeah, yeah.
we're going to get her own insurance policy. We're going to be on title to the car. We're going to be on the loan to the car, but we're going to get her own insurance policy, and then we don't have to worry about her being on our policy. That definitely, I think, does
Yeah, that
not
definitely
work.
doesn't. Yeah, it makes sense. You're still on the hook.
Right.
Especially again, I think if any of my name is anywhere on the car or anything of that loan or anything like that, I would agree.
Well, and
Um,
even your daughter lives with you. Your daughter's address for her tax return is your
it's still
house.
the house. Whew.
I think there's still an argument that you're
Uh-oh.
responsible for that
There's
daughter.
another reason why we got to grow up. We gotta get become an adulting. Adulting ain't easy, people. Adulting ain't easy. And then being a parent ain't easy either. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I'm a little nervous now. But Shawn, you're opening my eyes this morning. I think this is amazing.
I don't
Again,
know if
you
I
are
should
on fire right now,
should
Mister.
I apologize for that.
No, this is good. This is good information. But yeah, for me, as you could tell though, like impacts wise, for me, it's you talk about insurance, you talk about all these impacts from a bankruptcy perspective. There's just so many things to keep in mind, when it comes to, bankruptcy. You're thinking like, oh, it's just going to be the credit card, right, or the loan, or the one impact that is so obvious, right? That seems to be so obvious, and yet there's so many other aspects that people need to keep in mind when it comes to going through this. What are we talked about emotion that's going through itself, but it's just you got to have someone who's experienced, knock knock, this guy, and knows what he's talking about to be able to really understand the complexities of this whole process. So fantastic to have you on my side for sure.
Well, and I'll give you props as well. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that the issue of how do I put a budget together? How do I
Yep.
create a budget? How do I stay responsible to the budget? How do I stay accountable to the budget? I mean, I can do it, but you can do it so much better than me that I've referred people to you that
Yep.
have had those types of issues. So I think that's what makes the podcast work. I think that's what
Right.
makes our relationship work is that I can come at it from the technical legal end and you can come at it from the practical budgeting end because sometimes people aren't going to need me and sometimes people are going to need more than you.
Yeah, and then vice versa itself. I thought it was just the way we looked, but again, I'll take with the bald and the beautiful bearded. But
The
hey,
bald and the
no problem.
beard. I do let my beard grow out a little bit for Gasparilla, so I look like a
Well,
like a
well, well,
like a
well, old
scallywag.
timey. The man is in again. If we'll tie it into Patreon a little later, but you have to see the video, my friend, of
Dude.
this handsome guy.
So you want to talk about budgeting. So
Please.
to be in the crew, we buy our own beads. Now I don't know if all the crews are this way or not, but I know in our
Sure.
crew we buy our own beads to throw out to the crowds. They sell them in dozens. So they
Mm,
sell like a pack a dozen, a
sure.
dozen beads. The kids Gasparilla parade I think is like a mile and a half long, and so what they say is 12 to 18 dozen per person.
Sure. Per person.
So
Wow.
doing that quick math, 12 dozen beads is 144 strands of beads. 18 dozen beads is 216 strands of beads, which I was able to do that math without my calculator. You can't see it
Brilliant.
on screen. Um, so I had to buy, now it's me and my son, so I had to buy double that. For Gasparilla is a 4 to 4.5 mile parade.
Yeah.
You need 50 to 60 dozen beads.
Wow.
60 dozen beads are 720 strands.
Oh my goodness. You need a big box for that. That's for sure.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of the thing that I always wonder when I go to Gasparilla, you look at the side as I'm throwing beads, I'll look and there's people with their radio flyer wagons or people with their collapsible wagons,
Yeah.
and these wagons are overflowing with beads. And my question is, I definitely recycle. I mean, I go to anywhere from 2 to 4 parades a year.
Yeah.
So I need to recycle those beads. But somebody that just goes to collect beads, what the heck do they do with them when the parade's over?
Why do you why do you go down that road and try to understand the psychology of that, because imagine Mardi Gras, imagine all the other yeah, I agree with you there. You definitely I was gonna ask that, but I was like, please recycle, like please make sure you recycle, but
Well,
yes.
so I know every year. So when the beads come, they come wrapped. They come in, dozens in groups of
Sure.
dozens,
Sure.
and there's a little like a piece of cardboard paper or construction paper that you kind of wrap the beads with the construction paper as a hook, and then you
Yeah.
staple the construction paper. And so I do that every year. I go to the parade, I unpack all the beads, I throw whatever beads. When there's beads left over, I throw them back in the bag, I bring them home. Well, when I get ready for the next parade, I go through and I sort them out into dozens, and I construction paper and staple them, and so they put back together. And so maybe I'm just detail oriented.
You think? As a lawyer, my friend, it's in your nature. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. We
So
forgive you. That's why we love you,
anyway,
man. That's why we love you.
yeah. So I think I am going to say that we are done with this week's episode, so I can
Not bad. I
get
learned a
dressed
lot.
into my pirate costume and get out to Kids Gasparilla.
Take a picture and put it on the two things. I'd say Facebook and obviously in-depth look. I'm hoping maybe will be a Patreon little thing as well. So there you go. I'm trying to promote, my friend. I'm trying to
I
get us
would
out there.
say I would say I will take an embarrassing picture of myself in my pirate costume, but that's got to be like the third level of paywall deep on Patreon.
There you go. I like that.
That
I
way,
love
people
it.
that really want to see it. But yeah, again, thank you to Magic Mind, their focus for January of mental wealth and the sleep formula, the focus formula. You get both 45% off. Go to magicmind.com/cdjan, CDJAN. Thank you, Magic Mind, for being a friend, for being a sponsor of the show.
Absolutely.
Again, we've talked about the Patreon page. So there is more content available. You go to patreon.com/crushing debt, and you can find all of that stuff on the Patreon page. Again, Happy New Year, and thank you to Sam Cohen with Attorneys First Insurance. If you're an attorney or title company that needs malpractice coverage, Sam at attorneysfirst.com. Other than that, I think I'm going to go drink rum and be a pirate.
Dude, enjoy the day. Obviously, make sure you get some nice experiences and that. But I would say good luck. And it's gonna be a little chilly, but good luck and enjoy the day for sure.
By the way, you know what a pirate's favorite letter is?
Oh no, what
What do
is
you
the
think?
first?
What
I'm
do you think?
assuming it's R.
Nope. It's the C.
Uh, all right, get this guy off. Get this clown
Did,
off the
did
air.
did you hear about the pirate that got bit? That his left arm got bit off by a shark?
No, no, what happened to him?
He's all right.
All right, all right, dad jokes here. It's not even so obvious there, buddy. But both very good. I did smirk, so I'm gonna give you that one.
There you go. So, with that train wreck, I will end this week's episode of the Crushing Debt podcast. If you are invading Tampa, be safe, have fun. Look for me.
Yes.
It's the crew of freebooters. We're the ones with the mermaids on the front of the float. So look for me on the Gasparilla float and the kids Gasparilla float. But other than that, we hope that you have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money. And we will talk to you in next week's episode of the podcast.